Hello dear readers and welcome to NOTINDOOR. Right now I'm here at the G2 Gallery in Abbot Kinney in California, and I'm looking at this beautiful picture called, you could probably guess, Lion Under the Moonlight. And this picture was taken by photographer Roberto Cabral, and I'm going to be interviewing him right now and tell you a little more about this picture and many other pictures.
My name is Roberto Cabral. That is my real name. A lot of people refer to me as Robert Cabral. And I was born here in the United States, but actually spent a lot of my childhood, the first 8 years of my life in Germany, before moving back here and then living everywhere from Rhode Island, New Jersey, Florida, and California, as well as moving back and forth and being in Europe quite a bit. I started my photography career when I was in high school. I just loved photography and was a high school yearbook photographer, photographed all my girlfriends, my friends, and it just always stayed a hobby. It was always a passion of mine, capturing the moment in time. I trained in martial arts and worked as a bodyguard, taught martial arts, and photography always kind of lingered in my head. There's always this magical power that photography had of capturing these specific moments, and I always thought my life was compartmentalized in moments. So capturing them in photos was a real magical opportunity to make something special out of something that I saw that maybe someone else didn't see, and then putting it on paper became that magical transformation where I could now share that, exactly what I saw. And I did that for years. I shot a lot of glamour and beauty, and recently decided to shift careers and move into more things with conservation, and Africa was a natural calling for me. And went there earlier this year, 2017, and all the photos you see are from that trip, that one exhibition. So what I'd like to differ with photography is, although I do shoot some digital as well now, I still very much use an analog brain. I really look at photography very differently than a lot of digital photographers look at it. I do look at setting up shots, waiting for moments, as opposed to just blasting through 1,000 pictures and hoping one comes out. So in that, I think my photography lends its eye to a more traditional approach, looking things, staging things, seeing things, capturing what's there, much differently than just, again, like I say, blasting through 1,000 frames and hoping one comes out.
Okay, great. And so let me ask you this. How come you decided to go, let's say, to Africa and not anywhere else?
I think my main reason going to Africa was because of its uniqueness and the whole idea that all human life started in the Rift Valley. So looking at it for that purpose, there's nothing like Africa. The animals, I wanted to photograph animals. I photographed women before for years. I wanted to take that ability to take a beauty captured from a woman and put that onto an animal. And I don't think there's any place in the world where you're going to have the vast array of animals that you have in Africa, in particular, like in Kenya, where I was, in Rwanda. So it was a very conscious decision to get something very unique out of a photo experience. And as you see in the exhibition, so many different animals, from giraffes to zebras to lions to gorillas to everything. And I think that was the main reason, just that the vastness of landscape and animals and everything that I could get in that one shot.
And so in that note, I understand you had an interesting encounter with one of them, right?
Yeah, that was with Muhoza, who was one of the biggest silverbacks in Rwanda. And what happened was I was there, and Rwanda was my first stop on the journey. And when you encounter the gorillas, it's a monumental experience. There's nothing that can ever prepare you for standing in front of a silverback gorilla, because they're obviously so closely related to us that you immediately feel a kinship with them. And I was taking these pictures, and like I said, this picture here is taken with a rangefinder, so it's very manual. It's very manual focus, manual aperture, manual, shutter speeds, manual ASAs, and all that, which people nowadays don't even know what it means anymore. But and I was standing there, sitting there, and kept focusing and taking a picture, and then there would be like a leaf in front, because it's a very hard terrain to photograph. You can see it's a very dense brush, a dense bamboo forest. So in order to get an animal sitting in the open like that is very, very difficult to achieve. So I kept asking the rangers to, can you move that? Can you move this? Can you move that? Can you move this? And it was always these little leaves because I'm a hyper-perfectionist. And they would move a leaf, and they would move a leaf, and they would move a branch. And so finally there was other people around, so I said, why do I keep asking them, right? And there was a branch that was hanging right in front of my camera lens. I was shooting, and the branch was right here, and it was just right in my shot. And so I reached forward and I just pulled it away, not noticing that the other end of this vine was draped over and was in Moses' hand that he was eating. So when I pulled it out of his hand, and when he looked up, he saw me holding it. So immediately the ranger said, Cabral, don't move. To which thought is like, run. But you can never outrun one of these animals. So I listened, I squatted down, and he made his way over to me. And the idea is not to look at them and to make this sound called la, which shows that everything's okay. You don't mean any harm. And when they experience that, the amazing thing with gorillas, no matter what you've done, if you immediately surrender, they will not fight. Right? So I took his branch, but immediately I squatted down and gave him the sound that I was surrendering. Everything was okay. And all he did, he got up, stood right in front of me, and then just brushed by me with his arm. And I can tell you, after 20, 30 years of martial arts, of fighting some really, really tough guys, I've never felt as humbled as I felt at that moment, feeling the immense power of that animal just brush by you, and you know he could just literally rip you apart with one hand.
Nice, I got chills here. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about the exhibit of yours here in the G2?
Yeah, I mean, the exhibit is made up of 12 pictures. Everything from, this is in Rwanda, then we went here in the Masai Mara, all the way through to Amboseli, which is a different area of Kenya. This is also, those are the three primary areas that we shot. And the experience was so vast and so different in each of these terrains. Like this one, for example, in Amboseli, lying on the phone, which we talked about at the beginning, is just such a transformative, powerful picture. And I wanted this lone beauty of a lion, but captured in a way that nobody's ever captured it. And again, that was my theory for all these pictures, is to capture these unique individual animals in a very beauty portrait type setting. Not wildlife photography. I hate when people call me a wildlife photographer. I still consider myself, a beauty photographer. I just happen to shoot beauty in the animal.
Nice. Did you have a beauty dish and stuff like that?
Yeah, and I would have loved to have a big 6-foot softbox and perfectly like this, and then go in and brush out his mane and everything. But the true beauty in capturing beauty is in what really is there. And you can just look at the details. Look at his eyes. I mean, just the lines. I mean, I don't think you could have a makeup artist, the best makeup artist in the world, could not make a more beautiful face than what God made on these animals. So this was a funny story too. This picture here, I've been watching this lion for almost the whole day, and we came by near the end of the day. It was probably about 6 o'clock, and we were lucky to catch him again. And he was playing with his whole family. It was him, the female, and there's probably 4 or 5 cubs. And they're all playing. I've got another shot that I may put in a future show of the cubs like crawling over his head. And to see a powerful lion like this, just with these little tiny cubs where he can be so delicate and so gentle, reminds you of the fragile strength that I talk about in the title of the work. And just as we were ready to go, last night, it was like 7 o'clock, we had to go, we had to get out of the park. And I said, just one more second, I don't care what happens, I gotta get this one shot. And I jumped out of the car, crawled under the car, and just nailed this one shot in that one moment with the moon and the moment, and like I said, the light in his eyes, everything was just, I could not have asked for a more perfect opportunity or picture at that moment.
Remember what time of the day it was?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
Yeah, 7 o'clock. It couldn't have been later than 7 o'clock.
And was it like really dark, or because it's a black and white, it's a little hard to tell, I guess?
Yeah, it wasn't as dark. It wasn't the middle of the night. I mean, it was definitely dusk. But it wasn't middle of the night. You can see there's no artificial light used here at all. This is a complete natural light picture.
Yeah, it's beautiful. You should come here and just stand in front of it. I stood in front of it 2 days ago and just observing it. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
And do you have maybe another photograph that means a lot to you?
Yeah, I would love to show that to you. Yeah. In this room here, there's two pictures that mean a lot, and they really juxtapose each other. So you have this amazing herd of elephants just coming towards you, which is called Elephants in the Dust. And this picture just really signifies the massive power and strength in a herd of elephants coming at you. I've never seen a picture, and I'm a big fan of African photography, I've never seen a picture that captures it like this, where you see the sparsity and the vastness of the African terrain of the Kenya and Amboseli, and the power on this side of the picture. You see a lot of my pictures, I do use negative space quite importantly, because it's important to see what's not and what is, because when you really understand this, then you can kind of transfer over here and see what will be if we don't change the way we look at the world. And that is, on this vast lake bed in Amboseli, there was this elephant skull just laying there. And I couldn't stop myself from having to go touch it and to experience it. And when I did, I saw these shadows and these details in the skull. And I just was humbled to think of what was this animal's last breath, the last moment, the last thought, the last bit of consciousness this animal shared. And I felt compelled to take this picture. And sadly, it's not a beautiful picture. It's not a picture that you'd want to hang in your living room, but it's a picture that should be hanging in your head, because it reminds us that, from ashes to ashes. And that's an important aspect. In the concept of fragile strength, this signifies the strength of this elephant, this herd, this powerful, massive herd, one of the most powerful creatures around, to the fragility of what really hinges between life and death. And in death, these animals should still be remembered, and I think that picture really signifies that. And I would hope more people would really appreciate the power in that picture.
And well, do you have any certain tips for other photographers who might be wanting to changing a certain path?
In what way do you mean that? Changing
for example, you were shooting beauty, right, and fashion, and you decided to do something else, right?
Oh yeah.
And was it hard to do?
Well, when you change, changing careers or changing vision. So I shot beautiful women for years and years and years, and then changing to shoot something else. Was it hard? No, because beauty, or what you're capturing, is in you. In other words, a photograph is not what is there, it's how I see what is there. So anytime somebody just nails it, snaps a picture, you're really just taking pictures of what's there. Unless you really interpret it and compose it in your mind and in your camera, you're really just not doing anything special for that moment. But when you experience the moment, feel the moment, and become one with the moment, and then take the picture of that moment, it becomes transformative, and then you actually have a moment and a photograph, which I think is a huge difference. And today with digital photography, it's hard for photographers now to understand that, because it's instant, and most photographers spend half their time looking down, shoot, looking down, and whenever you look down, you miss what's there. So when we started with film, or when we shot film for years, you were always shooting, you never took your eye off the subject, because you were always in this horizontal plane. You were always looking this way constantly, so you didn't have the opportunity to look down to see if you got the shot. You had to know you got the shot. You had to know that your aperture and your shutter speeds and your light and your shadows and everything were proper. So, and I think that's why the pictures that I took were more geared towards old school film days, analog days, because of that. But changing careers, changing from shooting animals to people, I thought this was the most natural progression I could have ever done, because again, I see beauty in all things. I see beauty in people and landscapes and animals and stuff like that. So just shoot what you love. Don't ever shoot what you don't want. Never look at photography like a job. Look at it like an experience where this is exactly what I experienced when I was there. It's in my mind forever, but it's hard to explain what you saw without having this moment. Yet when it's in here, it's hard for you to not be a part of it, and for someone else to not experience it like you experienced it.
Right, right. And so until when is your exhibit going to stay here?
The exhibit's here at the G2 Gallery until August 5th.
Okay, so we still have time to come and enjoy it.
Yeah, please do.
And experience it.
Please do. I mean, it's just a great, great show. It's a great space. The energy here is great. And something that's so important, what the G2 Gallery does, which is why I'm so happy to be a part of it, is galleries always take a commission from a photographer. If you want to shoot pictures, you got to know you're going to give away a lot of your money. But the G2 Gallery is so amazing that they take their commission, 100% of their commission from this work, and it goes right back to helping the animals. So 100% of the G2 Gallery's commission on this show goes to the Wildlife Conservation Network's Elephant Crisis Fund, which helps so many elephants all throughout Africa. And I think it's so important that if we're going to do something, we're going to capture the beauty of these animals, that we give something back to them. And I've always believed in that, like through my work, I've always given back to charities, to nonprofits, and this cause is no exception, because here, these animals are going to be gone if we don't work on conservation and really helping them.
Right, right, very important.
Yeah.
And maybe for closing, can you tell us where else can we find your work and maybe purchase it and so on?
So all my work is available on my website on robertocabral.com. And right now it's available through the G2 Gallery. You'll still be able to buy it through the G2 Gallery once the show is gone. For images that are not available through this particular show or through these 12 pieces, they can be purchased through me by going to robertocabral.com. All the picture sizes, the information, the descriptions, and also what's important is all these photos are printed on Hanemule photo rag paper, which is a very, very heavy paper. It's a German paper. It's not flimsy. It's not just some cheap paper. All of the prints are printed with an Epson archival ink, so these prints are going to last for a long time, and they are printed with every very detail watched. There's no detail missed, so you won't see quality like that by just going to a quick photo lab. So it's about the details. Everything's got to be about the details.
Right. Well, thank you very much, Roberto, for coming especially today to do this interview.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. And we'll leave you with this beautiful line here. Right, and remember, amazing things happen when you're not indoor.